Welcome everybody to HBHOES. This is your host Maddie and Sammy.
Hello.
Welcome. You know the deal. You're a little slut, a little slew for HBO shows and movies, and you want to discuss them, live them, love them.
Fuck them.
You've come to the right fucking place. Exactly.
Oh my god. Yeah, episode fucking 2 of House of the Dragon. We're here, we're talking about it. Maddie and I are on, I think, another level today. So I'm getting a little tipsy. She's gonna lie. You were having a good time. It's fun. So, and honestly, somebody's got to bring some fucking humor to this show because there is none, and I'm tired of it.
It's a lot. It's a lot to process. That's why they put it out weekly. So we have at least 7 days to.
I know, but even Game of Thrones, there was comedic relief constantly. I mean, we had Tyrion, and then we had like all the shots fired, and there was a lot of drama. There was also a lot of comedy. I got into an argument with a Reddit user last night about this because I'm like, is Daemon gonna be the only comedic relief in this entire show? And he was like, oh, imagine watching Game of Thrones for comedy. And I'm like, I'm not, you fucking twat. I'm just asking for a little bit more than when Damon's on screen. But that's besides the point. I'm not gonna rant.
Also, Jaime Lannister was quite funny.
Oh, yeah, pretty much outside of like, I mean, you're like stoic, you know, like your fucking Eddard stocks, you know, everyone was pretty funny.
That is true.
So I'm really just waiting for that. So, you know, part of my mission here is to bring some laugh to the people that are listening because you are definitely not laughing during showtime.
Yeah, hopefully we can make you laugh. We're not comedians, but you know, regardless.
Yeah. You know.
So yeah, let's jump right in. I actually just want to mention something really quickly that you know, we had just talked about earlier about just like tunnel visioning shows because you're so excited for like the cinematic vision of what's happening that you miss a lot of details. Well, one thing I missed in the first episode, the first thing, the intro.
Oh my god.
Blood River intro?
No, wait, we didn't get it in the first show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. No, Maddie.
So confused.
No, this was the first one was the godforsaken epilogue. That was basically their intro. This episode was the first time we've seen the actual intro with the Game of Thrones theme song and the blood and all that. So yeah, like, don't worry, you didn't miss that. You didn't miss that.
I was so confused. Okay, great. I was like, I could not have tunnel vision that hard.
Right. No, Maddie literally was just like, we talked earlier, and she's like, there's something that I'm not going to mention right now, but I'm going to mention on the pod because we both missed it. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be. No, there was no intro in the first episode. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember. I am also pretty tunnel visioned. I get addicted to things. I have just an addictive personality. So last night's episode, we're recording this on Monday. The episode came out last night. It wasn't enough for me. So I literally started Game of Thrones from season 1, episode 1 again. And I can't remember if there was an intro in the first episode of that either. I don't think that there was. So I'm like, okay, you know, but correct me if I'm wrong. Please come for my throat if I'm wrong. But
well, commenters, please, because I have no idea.
Yeah, literally fucking lost here. But the first thing that I wrote down, because what we do is we write notes and then we come on here and we share them with whoever the fuck is listening. And the first thing that I wrote in all caps with so many emojis and so many exclamations is flesh-eating crabs. What is going on? And then someone said this. I will try to find either the Twitter user or Reddit user that actually said this. I'm not taking credit for this comment. I'll leave this in the description if I can find it. But someone was like, of course, the one thing that's going to take Westeros down is crabs. And I'm like, no, honestly, this is a big fucking deal. Like,
yeah,
where have we ever seen this before? Like, can dragons handle the crabs? Like, can dragons burn up all the crabs? They burrow, you know, like, crabs. Is this a fair competition? I don't know. It's going to be crabs against dragons. That's what this is looking like right now. It's insane.
It is insane. You know, it's funny. I have some notes about the crabs as well. The crab
I have some notes, but this is fucking hilarious.
I know. If anything takes
Out
so
of
much
context,
it's crabs,
so
literal
funny.
and figuratively.
So funny.
Yeah, but like I was just, we talked about CGI a little bit and budget, and I was wondering, I'm like, damn, these crabs CGI. They don't just
I
eat.
mean, yeah, I would hope. I mean, I would fucking hope so. Imagine if they weren't. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they were. I always watch like the inside the episode, and the next week on and all this stuff. Sometimes Maddie does. I think sometimes she likes to be surprised, whereas I am the complete and total opposite. I don't like for the season to be ruined for me, but I do like to see every piece and second of content that they're putting out when they put it out. So I watch everything. The crabs must be CGI.
Yeah, and again, just expounding on that, like what was their CGI budget? Just overall, how much did the crabs get? How much did the dragons get? I am curious. I did see that the budget for this show per episode is around 20 million. So that would be
episode, yeah.
200 million for the season.
Just about. If it's 10, a little less if it's 8. But nonetheless, 20 million per episode. We actually did the math the other day because I'm a math gal, and they make the whole season's budget back with just the amount of HBO subscribers that they have for 1 month. So, yeah. I mean, they're not fucking hurting, guys. They're not hurting. No. Honestly, I'm like, HBO, sign us, please. We're very talented.
Speaking.
And somewhat broke. So pitch your girls up. So flesh-eating crabs, fucking crazy. And then we immediately go into it doesn't, I don't know if it says this right away or if it says it after the fact, but we're 6 months after Aemma and Balon the baby die. So, which is, it's kind of crazy because I'm like, Maddie and I talked about this earlier. We're like, how is the series going to go? With Game of Thrones? It was back to back to back to back, like contact, complexity, confrontation, all the cons, everything back to, like, it was just one very long story, but honestly, in such a short amount of time. Conflict, it was the actual word I'm looking for, conflict, but I said every other con and com. But with this skipping time, like, going fast forwarding and stuff, it's not something that we've ever seen in Game of Thrones before. So I'm kind of like, I'm a little weary. I just, Game of Thrones was like, it felt like my child. So I'm hoping that this turns out to be as good. I know that, and really my theory is that they're skipping because the books that go through this specific storyline are already out. A lot of people already know what happens. The Game of Thrones, like, fandom is so big now that it's kind of like, are we going to put out content that people already know what's going to happen? Are we going to breeze through it and then get to what George R.R. Martin hasn't written yet? So I'm really just so curious about what's going to happen. But we skipped to 6 months forward and we're set to where Rhaenyra, who, if any of you have listened to the first episode,
you know what? You actually got her name right the first time. And
did I?
Yes, for the rest of the time. For no reason. I think it's because her aunt's name is Rhaenys. Correct?
The aunt's name is Rhaenys. Yeah.
I swear, that's why we added an S to Rhaenyra.
And then it's Rhaenyra Daenerys. Like, we were, I said it last week. The Targaryen names are difficult because they are all so similar. Yeah. They all have an A, an E, an O, and a Y. There's a lot of fucking vowels going on, a lot of S's, a lot of, just S's where they should be, S's where they shouldn't be on our part. Like, we just added an S to it because that's the Targaryen way. So, 7 hells, whatever, forgive us. Like, we're sorry. We take it back.
The light of the Lord of the Light.
But yes, so we have Rhaenyra, who is has been coronated again. Not the right word. I'm only going by what I know in my own.
She's being inducted as the heir.
The heir, yes.
The chosen heir.
Yes. So it's 6 months from then, she's still a fucking cupbearer. And after the flesh-eating crabs, we end up in the small council room where Corlys is pissed, right? So I don't really have any thoughts on that. I'm kind of like, good for you, bro. You know, like, you should be pissed. I would be pissed too if all my men were dying. Especially, you know, he's the master of ships. His ships, you know, kind of hold up the kingdom and, you know, are very profitable when it comes to trade and, you know, all these things. So it's important. And, you know, I think that the council is kind of blowing him off. King Viserys is kind of blowing him off, or just maybe he's being sensitive. We don't know yet, right? We don't know this man.
Yeah, I do think that he was kind of like, the king was blowing Corlys off a little bit, because he seemed like he had it handled, but this man is still worried. I don't know, everyone is gunning for power, so I'm sure there are ulterior motives that we'll find out eventually. I didn't have too many thoughts about this either, but speaking of them in the like chamber of council together, when Rhaenyra is, you know, named heir but still pouring water for these fucking men.
Wine.
I
don't think she ever pours water.
Oh, regardless of what these, I was just trying to protect
their water is wine. They are Jesus's disciples. They drink nothing but wine. I don't know how these, no wonder they get infected so often, because they are literally so dehydrated.
I know. I completely forgot about Tyrion and being drunk constantly. Thank you. I lost my head.
Oh no.
But yeah, I did, you know, like, Rhaenyra pipes up, she starts to say something and she's cut off, of course, because men. But it's, of course, Otto, whose nickname is Big Toe, which again, I think is funny that it's Otto, Big Toe, you know.
Big toe, bog toe, botto.
Yes.
Oh. There we go. That's how you get there.
Yes. But
he's, you know, really a big fat fucking toe though, isn't he? Like, he makes my skin crawl probably more than Littlefinger, because Littlefinger was always just such a cunning cunt.
He was cunning.
Hard to say that word. I might have to bleep that out for America, but for the Britons, you know. But yeah, no, but Otto is just like sly, old, sneaky. I don't know. There's something about the way he moves. He just pisses me off really badly. I think it's more so like his influence on Alicent, but we'll get to that. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Yes, no, you're good. But you know, he cut her off. And of course he said some just like womanizing shit, like, oh, like maybe her talents would be better used elsewhere, to pick a prince
fucking
to protect the king, be on the king's guard. But you know, Rhaenyra is a savvy girl. Like, she's bold. She's, even though she wasn't for like being the heir her whole life, she's still, I think, acclimated to that royalty. Like, you know, the second born in a lot of tropes, they're always like, fuck it, and then they get it and they have to like acclimate really quickly to, because they're like, oh, like, I wasn't supposed to get this, like, it was my older brother or whatever, you know, like, that's kind of the trope. So, but Rhaenyra isn't like that. She's ready for it if it comes, not necessarily because she wants it, but because she's dutiful, you know?
Yes, 100%. And that's really why, like I said in the first episode of this podcast, I will continue to say it. She is, I think, and will forever be the true protagonist of this show. That's how she's set up. That's how she's acting, you know, and she's very like just graceful about it. Even when she's hurt, she doesn't show it. You know, because, and like, so she's a ladylike as much as she is bold and and strong, like a man would be, if we're talking about traditional gender in that time, right? So like, I really like appreciate her, and even her speaking up, like, we don't, you know, and that's the thing, like, that's kind of why I hate there is no context between now and the 6 months that passed. Because I'm like, okay, well, was she just silent the entire time? Was she waiting for the right moment to speak up? That's what I'm assuming, because that's what we're seeing. But, you know, she says something, she comes to Corliss's defense, which I'm sure is very nice for him to see because he doesn't think that anyone on the small council is defending him at all. And, and she says something and she's immediately shot down. But then kind of, I think it was, first of all, it was patronizing, right? Of like, oh, let's put you in a place where you will better fit. But like, second of all, it's like, oh, this is a consolation prize. Instead of letting me in on the conversation, like a part of this if I was a man, I'd be a part of this council, right? I'd be sitting at the fucking table with my stupid fucking disc and my marble ball to put down, which don't understand that, whatever. She would have a seat at the table if she was a man. Instead, she's still the cupbearer, and nonetheless, it's still no, I'm not even gonna say that because I thought it in my head. It sounded fucking horrible. I was just thinking about when Arya was the cupbearer for Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones, and she was able to listen in on all of the very important strategic conversations that they were having. So I'm like, the thing is, she is getting good experience sitting in and being the cupbearer for those conversations, which is what is ultimately making her a stronger and smarter person, a more political person. But it really was a consolation prize. Like, instead of having an opinion on the thing that actually matters, let you choose one of the fucking 50 Kingsguard that we have, but I did love the way that she came out after that, right? Like, she was just like, I only want someone who's had battle experience. Yeah, and whether or not she actually knew that the fine ass Dornish man had battle experience or not, that's beyond us. But I am so happy. Like, I hate to switch this into, like, we were talking about feminism, we're talking about the fucking patriarchy, we're talking about all this stuff, but like, god damn, that man is cute. He is so cute.
I literally wrote in my notes, old sex ass.
Yes, old sex ass. Like, yeah, I wrote in my pics, cutie Dornish man. And I'm happy. And I don't know how big of a role he's gonna get.
Oh, he's gonna die.
Later in the episode, he says a one-liner that made me actually laugh out loud for the first time since watching this. But so I'm happy that she handled that. I'm happy that she was able to like buck back. I think that really what it is she doesn't care about bucking back with any people from the court, Otto or otherwise. But I do think that it's really about her father. And I think that that's something that a lot of girls learn when they have a father who's like a very like, not even necessarily dominating, but powerful person. The king, can you imagine? Like the king of like pretty much the entire world as you know it.
No, so I literally
you respect him first, and then you respect.
And then you're his daughter.
Yeah. No, so it's like you are taught not only to respect all men, but to respect this man more than anything. Mm-hmm. So I understand like her conflict with, and really like give her like honestly, I'm like hats off to her for even speaking up in those meetings when her dad is present, because I'm like, that takes a lot of fucking balls. Like it really does. Like she's got bigger balls than every man on this show. She really does. So I think that she's definitely set up to be the true protagonist. Whether or not she does some dumb shit later on, who's to say? But I'm with her. I'm ride or die. Well, I recant that because I have had some true favorites that have really fucked me off in Game of Thrones. So like, I'm not gonna say that. But, you know, I really am with her. I think she's very level-headed. She's very mature for her age. I mean, we know that Allison, do we find out her age? I think she's 15, 16 in this, 17 maybe?
I don't know. I was going to say, was assuming that Rhaenyra has got to be around like 16 or 17. And I was going to say Allison actually might be a year or two older than her because maybe. She has, I mean, like, look, she is a maiden of the court, a noble woman of the court, right? Like but she's not royalty. So there's something very like maideny and mature and motherly about her. And we got that moment. Well, we got some moments of that too with her.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, that might have a lot to do with like her losing her mom and being because it is said that Otto was the hand of the king before he was the hand of the original king. I can't remember his name. I can't pull it up right now, but the one that ended up actually appointing Viserys as king. He was the hand of the king to him first for, I think they said 16 years. I can't remember if this was said in the episode or in one of the inside the episode things, but so he's been there a long time. He's a trusted, like, air quote, trusted confidant of the the king and of the
court and of the seven realms.
But yes, so she clearly grew up around it, was around it, like has been like basically brought up to be, this perfect lady. And then her mom dies, which I mean, will give you just grief, and grief gives you maturity, I think, in a lot of times. Yes. So especially as a woman who is expected to keep your shit together no matter what. But and then even Otto, I'm jumping ahead, but Otto says to her at the end of the episode, like, oh, what, I don't remember what
something about being beautiful. Why do you pick at your nails?
No, he's like, you're the most, I forget what he said, and I was gonna look it up because
it was old timey.
It was like Coley or something like that. I never heard it said before, so I was like, I don't know if that was a dig or clearly he's digging her, and that's the shitty thing is like I really resent a dad that treats his daughter bad. It just boils my blood, but with that, it's just like she has so much pressure, just in her own character analysis. I'm like, God, there's so much pressure, and she's only trying to make her dad happy because that's the only person that she can try to please at this point.
Well, and also everybody, I feel like, so I just want to touch on a couple of Allison.
Oh yeah, we don't even have to jump to her. Yeah. Let's talk about her.
She's coming up next. So, number one, before we even jump into that, because I have this in my fucking notes and it's hilarious. Oh, King Varys is a sick architect, showing his to Allison. Bro, I was so happy.
It was
little models. This is
no, honestly, and the thing is, they're cool as fuck, and they're so cool because, like, okay, so for people like I love history, and I really a lot of times need to see the real thing to like. I'm not a good. I don't have a great imagination, so I need to see it in order to visualize it, in order to place myself there, in order to really feel it. Maddi went to school. She loves architecture. She went to school for architecture, so it's like she just loves that shit, like just this physical model building. Also visualizing the same thing. Like, so we kind of come from opposite sides of the spectrum, but like I really appreciate that Viserys is into it. I also think easy fucking in for Allison, right? Like it's just like this is look, it's, and then someone again on Twitter, I will try to find this and I feel like I will give you credit, trust me, but somebody was just like, he gives me like a 50-year-old that plays with like toy trains vibes, and I'm like, you're so right, you're absolutely right. I know, and like the thing is like that's not anything to hate on somebody for, but I do think that there is escapism in that. 100% he is escaping into the worlds of history. Allison says when she first goes into his chambers, like, hey, I brought you a book because I know how much you love history. And I think that he is avoidant of what, what's happening around him at all times. I think that he feels pressure immensely. I feel like he's very sensitive. And as hard as he can be, like specifically, the only time we've really seen him hard was with Daemon in episode 1 at the end of it when he banishes him. Mm-hmm. And then Daemon still bucks back and is like, fuck you, I'm not going home, I'm going to Dragonstone. Like, suck it off. Like, like, suck it.
Yeah, like the true bad boy he is.
Yeah. Like, just like, I know my brother, he has like no authoritative bone in his body. He's the king, but it shouldn't be him. Like, I know that's how Daemon thinks. Mm-hmm. And really, I'm just like, okay, like all we really want, if we're thinking about, if we were under I can't even say monarchy because that's woman led, but like, under a patriarchy or some kind of archy, I don't know the right word, but something where like we have one specific ruler, and I'm not talking about socialism, I'm not talking about fucking communism, I'm talking about like just like, let's picture us in Westeros, right? If we had one ruler, who would we want it to be? We want it to be somebody that's stern and solid and convicted, or would we want it to be somebody that's kind and fair and caring? And really, ultimately, we want both, but that's never what we get, because that hardly ever exists in the world. So I think that, you know, he is the kind comparing, you know, kind of empathetic, avoidant, anxious kind of person.
Yeah. Goes with the flow, kind of.
Yeah, he inherited it because it was his duty. Like, and of course everybody kind of wants, like, you know, who would fucking deny it? But I think that that's gonna, like, his personality is gonna come big in this, and it's gonna be like, you know, that a lot of people were comparing him at the end of the episode, and I'm sorry to jump ahead again, but at the end of the episode, he chooses Alicent as his wife.
Yes.
Instead of Corlys and Rhaenys's daughter, which, okay, we'll talk about that in a second, but
yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
But, you know, a lot of people were saying, you know, oh, it's like him, he's the same as Robb Stark, and that's why Robb Stark died. And I'm like, okay, but it's the same as Robert Baratheon, except Robert Baratheon, Robert's rebellion was completely out of love for Ned Stark's sister, right? Jon Snow's mom. But it was just under the like, it was just, he disguised it as the Mad King, etc. Like, I think that in this, and what George, like the theme of George R.R. Martin is that, like, we do stupid shit for love. And, you know, clearly
that's
like,
that's the overarching theme for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I think the Viserys is not one in a million. He's one in fucking many. He's literally doing what everybody did before him, you know, and if not, like, so I think that this was a very, very winded explanation of how I feel about Varys. I'm very sorry, but I think that he is just very sensitive. And
so on that point, I just want to tie in his Alicent experience and even decision in the end. So, like, number one, Alicent, we know, is noble, and she's been around too. Like, she's Rhaenyra's best friend.
I'm pretty sure that, like,
she grew up around the king.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, they know each other.
Pretty much always in King's Landing.
Well, right. So when they're in that meeting together, he still asked Alicent how Rhaenyra was doing, because even though, like, it's a weird courtship that came about, and I feel bad because I'm like, how did, like, you're unsuspecting, like, are you that naive, bro?
Oh God, yeah.
But he still trusted Alicent as, like, this is somebody who is very close to my daughter, and I need to find a way in right now.
Yeah, no, and yeah, so I think that you're totally right. Like, the word unsuspecting just, like, lit fires in my head. I'm just like, because clearly Otto is putting her up to this. She, you know, and the thing is, what we need to decide about Alicent right now is that she wouldn't have otherwise gone for Viserys whatsoever on any
because she's
level,
gay,
unless it was her father telling her so. Exactly.
I'm sorry, I'm still on this LGBT journey with them. Like, we'll get
okay, so I will say that I didn't read the article, but I saw, like, a headline of a credited source that said that the LGBT, like, was intended.
Thank you. I fucking was picking up those vibes so hard.
My biggest thing, and this is, I wrote this with stars in my notes, is that because after what we just got through in terms of chronology in the episode, what happens is Alicent and Rhaenyra are together. They go down to the crypts, And Allison is like, this is where I pray and talk to my mom. And I light some fucking incense and I kneel and I pray. It's very Catholic, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But she kind of asked Rhaenyra to come with it, like to do it with her, to talk. And this is after she had, like, Allison has the conversation with Viserys, which it kind of sucks because I'm like, okay, is this like are you just trying to play both, you know, like, are you trying to play mediator between the two? Which, if so, that's great, because they needed it. They really need it. You know, Viserys and Rhaenyra should be communicating. They're the only like true family left in everything, right? And I understand how awkward and horrible and grieving it could be, but there's this really beautiful scene where Allison has Rhaenyra pray with her, and Rhaenyra clearly guarded, you know, like doesn't want to, like, she's never thought about doing it before. Allison's like, this is, I do this all the time, this is how I talk to my mom, etc. And it's so pretty and it's so nice. And then I wrote in my notes, it's just like George R.R. Martin to give us inevitable heartbreak, because fuck us, right? Fuck our hearts, right? So that's, you know, that was when, like, literally that was almost when I absolutely knew. And for the record, my mom, I refuse to talk to my mom because she knows everything that happens, because she watches fucking TikTok. She didn't even read the books, but she watches all the people and she knows what's going to happen. Everybody's talking about it on TikTok and Twitter and whatever. And I refuse, because I'm like, no, I want to see it play out here first. So I don't know the story. I don't know what happens. But that was when I knew. I was like, Allison's gonna marry Viserys, like something is gonna happen with them. I knew it, because I'm like, this is where you bring to your highest high of vulnerability and like safeness and closeness with someone, and then immediately after you fucking kill them, like you just murder them. And that's how like vengeance is born, that's how hatred is born, that's how another personality completely is born. But with Allison, I think that they're like, I don't think there was any ulterior motives with her as of yet. Everyone now is comparing her to Cersei Lannister, and I'm like, I don't know if she's gonna get that bad. I don't know.
I compare her way more to like Sansa. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree right now. But you know, I don't know, because she's so impressionable, especially by her father, who is clearly power hungry. And
also she's empathizing with him over the loss of his, how they say, lady wife, like, and also her mother.
So, like, so I think that obviously is true.
I think he's taking advantage of that energy.
Well, I don't,
you know,
like, I don't know. I think that, because like I said, it, like, no matter what happened, I don't think she would have tried to comfort him whatsoever. I think that it would have been,
I agree,
it would have felt out of bounds for her, whether what she's saying is true or not. I do think that she like genuinely wants to comfort him. I don't think she wants to fuck him though,
or marry him.
No, not at all. I don't think that, because he's literally 4 times her age. I think that, not literally, I don't know how old any, you know, and that's another thing that fucking pisses me off. I'm just like, please, Game of Thrones, please start telling me how old people are, because I have no idea. But I guess back then age didn't matter anyways. I mean, Jesus, they were trying to hook up a fucking at least 50-plus-year-old with a 12-year-old. I mean, and that was awkward as shit. I'm not even gonna go there, but you know, I think that, I don't think that her intent, I think that her intentions were, my dad wants me to do this, so I'm gonna do this.
Right. I agree.
You know, and and he even said, just do it, just figure out how to do it. And she thought of the way, like, oh, I know you like history, I'm gonna come read you a book. Correct. Oh, I know you like history, show me your little mini fucking graphs, right? Like there was, so I think that there is some cunning, like not cunning, but I think there is some strategy in her mind. I think that she, without any words, understands what her dad wants her to do. And that is what's so shitty, because she is a young, impressionable woman.
Right. I don't think there's ill intent yet.
And so I don't know if this is even like gonna be a thing throughout the season, but what happened in the first where Damon in the first episode where Damon they're doing the jousting, the tourney, right? And he picks Otto's son.
Mm-hmm.
So his son obviously doesn't die, but I'm like, okay, clearly there's a son here, but there's no, like, I'm just like, why Otto? Why wouldn't you try to get your son to marry Rhaenyra? If she was going to be the heir, why wouldn't you just follow that through and then try to set your son up with her and then have your family be a royal line that way? Why would you send your probably 16-year-old daughter after a 50 fucking 5-year-old man? Yeah, probably because it's easier, right?
Yeah.
To send your 16-year-old daughter after 50, because
absolutely.
hello,
That's a sure bet. It's a sure bet because
so like, and that's so fucking shit because it's like
it is. It's fucking awful.
Yeah. So okay. So we're gonna get out of that because I know that that's gonna be the major arc and controversy of this season is that Maddie didn't watch this. I spoiled it for her, but I already saw, and most of you probably already saw, that the next episode is like we're already flashed forward to where, because literally at the end of it, Viserys asks Alicent to be his wife in front of the entire council. I mean, like fucking bomb drop of the century. But in the next the next week on, we see that Alicent already has probably like he was a fat baby. So like, I mean, sorry if that's your baby, but like it was a fat baby. So I can't even tell how old he was, but it probably like 5 months, I would say. So I'm just like, we're already flash forward to like the king has an heir. He's healthy. He's blonde as shit. And he's chunk. He's a chunk. So like, so we're already there. So it's like, that was what I was saying earlier about the, flashing, like just skipping time in these episodes. So I'm really curious about how that's going to go. But nonetheless, can we talk about when Daemon steals the egg? Oh wait, did you have anything in between that you want to talk about? So monopolize like 20 minutes of that.
Hang on, let me just look at my notes. I mean, I have some little things.
Say them.
Okay, so obviously we know that he does not choose Laena, which is the daughter of the Valorians,
which
to marry.
Them the fuck off. Yeah.
Right. And honestly, I'm really glad, like, and I knew it off rip, like Valerius is a fair guy. Like he was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I don't want to do this.
And I'm very happy about that. It kind of shows true to his like, well, I don't know how much of a character show it is that he doesn't want to fuck a 12-year-old little girl, but it's nice that he was like, yeah, of course, weird. I don't want this. Well, especially coming from a wife that was his own age, like,
right. And I think beyond all of that, like, look, we're fucking glad that didn't happen. I think everybody is, but for me, it was more about like his love for Emma. Like, I know that he has a duty, the king, or whatever they say, the king's duty to marry and have heirs, whatever. But like, whether or not he had to marry a fucking 12-year-old, he's like, I just am still mourning. The fuck? Like, I'm still grieving.
Well, I mean, until the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of like all people are grieving until they find something that they think is not better. That's a terrible word, but like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I love that his morals weren't with the like quote unquote best thing, right? I agree. I'm happy that they were with who he actually felt a connection with and who he could actually be with. But that's where the whole Robb Stark comparison comes in. And I'm like, okay, but we can also like see, this is where I was getting at before I went on my fucking tangent. That was Robb Stark. That was fucking Robert Baratheon. That was Jaime Lannister. That was fucking every man that we know in Game of Thrones. So fuck all of you cunt assholes that are just like, oh, he's just an idiot. And like, yeah, like, oh, he's putting love before his duty and blah. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But everyone else did. They just were smart enough to find a way to figure that out. You know what I mean? So like, so you know, it's not, Robb Stark was dumb. Yes. Robert Baratheon claimed the fucking throne because of it. Jaime Lannister died under bricks because of it. And fucking, you know, like, it's just, yeah, it's the way the cookie crumbles. And the thing is, like, if you're not, I love that sense of, like, I love that feeling, like, if there wasn't any authenticity in it, then what's the point? If everything was scripted and everything was by the books, then there is no point. There is no point of it happening. There's no point.
Well, right, exactly. There would be no story. There would be no story.
So I'm just like, okay, I'm here for Viserys going with his heart, but at the same time, not at the cost of your daughter. That's what pisses me off, because I'm like, really, what I actually wrote down about that was that Rhaenyra has two things that belong to her, and that's her dragon and her best friend, Alicent. And now she just lost her best friend. And that's devastating.
And we all know that they don't control the dragon, so it's not like she has the dragon.
Okay, so that's another point. I'll talk about that after, but they control the dragon, but I think that's what led to the dragon's demise, right? Ultimately, is that I'm just gonna quickly talk about this. The fact that she rides a dragon like a horse and then parks it, gets off of it, and then it goes into a dungeon. I'm like, that's why dragons minimized in size. That's why dragons, you know, weren't like, because they weren't free. You know, it's kind of like any reptile, and any reptile owner that, if you guys are anybody that you know that the bigger the tank, the bigger they're going to get in almost all cases. So if you have an open fucking world and an open map for these creatures, they're going to continue to be big, and they'll still be loyal to you. They just won't necessarily be around when you need them every time. But, you know, so we saw, and that's what I think that, you know, just overall with this show, God, I'm switching gears so hard. I'm so sorry. With this show, this was the beginning of the end for the dragon, you know, and I think that's why this is a show anyways. But, you know,
that's a really good point, though.
They were, you know, and then they mentioned, they said in Game of Thrones, they said that the last dragons lived in the dragon pit, which is where they, in season 7, all of them came around, and then they brought the Nightwalker, right? And they showed them, and Cersei was there, Daenerys was there, Jon was there, everybody was there. And but that was the dragon, but that was the old dragon pit. It looked like a mini Colosseum. That's where they would keep the dragons chained up. And it's that they mentioned it in episode 2, and I'm like, okay, so this is really the beginning of the end of these dragons. There's 17 dragons that are accounted for in this series. We know that they said that there are 17 dragons. 16 of them belong to masters, and then one of them is just aloof somewhere. No one knows. I think it's Rhaegar. No one knows where she is. But you know, I think that's more so, there's been such an emphasis on the dragons in this show by not only the producers and the writer, but George R.R. Martin himself was like, pay attention to these things, like pay attention to how they look, pay attention to all these things, because that's really important. To obviously, the Targaryens wouldn't be anything without their dragons, right? So I think that's part of it. But nonetheless,
yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like, even when we saw which we'll get to Daemon and the egg shortly.
Well, yes, that's what I was gonna bring up. But yes, let's talk about it.
You know, we see that her dragon is significantly even smaller than the dragon that he has there. Now, I don't know what their upbringing are, and I know they're different types of dragons, like they're going to be different sizes.
Okay, so I did say earlier, and I only know this because my mom killed me with information the first time I talked to her about it. You guys, I literally had to hang up on her like mid-sentence because she was ruining everything for me because she watches TikToks with people that have read the books. But when a Targaryen baby is born, they put an unhatched dragon egg in the cradle with it. And then I don't know if it's overnight or over, I don't know the time period, but the dragon will hatch if it's a true Targaryen baby. So that's how Daemon got his, that's how Rhaenyra got hers. It's how every Targaryen ever has gotten their dragon. And that's how you know that you're a true Targaryen. If you are a baby and you have an egg and it doesn't hatch, then you're not considered a true Targaryen. So with that, you know, I don't know, the one like aloof dragon, no idea where they came from. I think that's going to be a big like question mark in this series.
Okay. I also have a random question. First of all, who the fuck stole dragon eggs for the first time? And also, okay, maybe that's how we made friends. I answered my second question. I was like, how the fuck did we make friends with dragons? You know, this is a made up story, but regardless, I'm like, how the fuck did dragon and man first interact? You stole their egg, and that's just like, we did that. That's cool.
I know. I don't know. That's the thing is like, so you're asking about the conception of the entire thing. Because
yeah, pretty much.
I don't know if dragons existed before Targaryens. I don't know if Targaryens existed before dragons. That's one thing that we don't know. Right. So like they might have come up together, and that might be why that, you know, they're the ultimate. And that's kind of the thing is like, you know, when we think about like supernatural or like for lack of a better term, like God-given magic. Ugh. God, that sounds horrible coming out, but like you know, I don't know what I mean. But like when you like maybe the Targaryens are the first family that were worthy of having, you know.
I don't think so. I think someone stole an egg and they like you domesticated it.
But then why would, because like for example, Balon was the baby and he was alive
for a day. We know air for a day.
Yeah, maybe. But you know, and that's the thing is we didn't see Balon go into but we do mention the egg that was picked for him.
Yes.
At the end of the episode.
Dreamfire's egg.
Yes. Yep. So I don't know, but what I do want to say, just in terms of the two dragons, we'll get it right into that. But what I do want to say is that I watched the inside the episode, and that's the only reason I know, because I was fucking telling my mom, like, Mom, Daemon's dragon's fucked. Like, he's fucked up. He looks like a snake. Like, his legs are real skinny. His like neck is real long. Like, there's something about him. He doesn't look like a normal dragon. His God, I didn't write it down, but Syraxis maybe, and then again, cut my throat if I'm wrong. But and then hers is Syrax. Her dragon is like the golden dragon. His is red, and that's something that everybody that's been working on the show has been hinting at, is like, pay attention to the dragons. They're very important. Like, pay attention to the differences in the dragons and make sure that you know them. But his, I found out on the inside the episode, is that his is deformed. So he's more of like, he looks like a snake in the sky. Like, he's just as powerful and just as like mighty, but he's more of like a snake. So his neck is longer, his limbs are skinnier. So that's
that alluding to Daemon's character, maybe? Like,
maybe, yeah, like snaky. Yeah, snaky. And then my mom's like, no, he looks the same. And I'm like, Mom, I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. And I hope she listens to this, because Mom, you're wrong. Okay.
I'm right.
I feel very
Shut
good
up.
in that. I feel
Shut up and try, guys.
Yes. I'm right. You're wrong. Shut up. Thank you, Eugene Lee Yang.
Hell yeah. That's my favorite saying. I honestly wish he would have said shut the fuck up, but that's just me.
It's, and that's, the power of YouTube. It really limits you.
It does.
We'll
It
be
does.
on YouTube eventually, but like only when they allow us to say cunt. So
Hell yeah. Okay, so
okay,
I guess
let's talk about that scene. Let's talk about the fucking
So Damon is a drama king. He always knows how to get a rise out of whoever, even though his brother, the king, or like he's very nonchalant and pretty much relaxed. We discussed this. Like he's a kind and fair leader, even though he does get a rise out of him. Otto convinces him to stay. He's like, no, you should not handle this right now because it's unsafe for you. Like, let me just take the Kingsguard, whatever. I think we all knew that this was going to be a bad idea. I was like, why would you, like, Damon hates you and he's got a dragon. The fuck? Like, this makes no sense. And Rhaenyra obviously knew that. She swoops right in on her fucking dragon. Very bold, very strong. And honestly, I don't know why they send anyone else. We already know from the first episode that she is the only one who can handle Damon.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think that that's common knowledge, though. I think that they might know that Damon and her have like a good cousin, like just like familial relationship, but I think that they consistently underestimate her, and this was her time to prove her strength, especially when it comes to Damon, who is the ultimate threat. Things are going off. Okay, so let's bring it from the top. First of all, the only reason that Viserys even reacts the way that he does about going to Dragonstone is because Rhaenyra was the only smart one that says or asks in Valyrian, which I fucking love the use of Valyrian in this.
Me too.
I fucking love
nice.
it. I'm like, every time Daenerys said it, I felt like she was saying, I can't repeat it now. Akadaor, Daor. I just
she wasn't born with the language. She had to learn the language.
Yes.
Wait, no, she was born with the language.
I don't
she
think
learned
the
Dothraki. My bad.
I don't think but even when she was speaking, the Dothraki sounded great. The Valyrian, it felt like she was repeating the same things over and over. And she might have been, because I don't think it was a built out language at this point. Because I know that these books, like I believe it's Dances with Dragons is the series that's built out a lot more, and George R. R. Martin is an executive producer on this, so he can fucking write the language as he please. But the way that they speak Valyrian is very nice to me. That's just a small note. So she asks the person, the dragon handler, who obviously also speaks High Valyrian, and he says it's, what was it, Dreamfire's egg. And that was when Viserys was like, fuck this, right? So she asked the only important question that needed to be done to elicit anything, that like any action that was going to happen. And I'm just like, okay, that, the thing is, like, a lot about people by the questions that they ask. We always say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there is such thing as a very fucking smart question, right?
Yeah,
and that was the question that she asked, because she not only knows everything about what's going on, but she knows Damon. And so that elicited that. Otto, being the fucking cunt that he is. So I said that word 3 times, and I'm not taking it back. But he's such a fucking twat. God. And he's like, I'll go. Don't worry about it. Fuck my daughter instead. So annoying. Oh,
I was so mad about that.
I can't stand him. I can't see. He makes my skin crawl. But And then she was like, no, this is no business for a man. This is no business for somebody that already has beef with the man
I
who is
know.
holding number one Dragonstone high. And we know from Game of Thrones that Dragonstone is literally like maybe a mile off the coast of King's Landing. It's right there. So he's there with his little King's Guard. Not that it's many, but it's still like it's an intimidation factor. That's where Daenerys was the entire time when her and Cersei were going through it, because it's like, I'm right here, bitch. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? And it's a fucking castle, like a stone castle. So there's hardly any, and there's a huge fucking bridge that goes up to like there. It's hardly impenetrable. So it's like you are very protected in that place. That's where he's held up.
Right.
And then Rhaenyra was like, fuck this, I'm going. But before we see that, we see the dumbass conversation between Daemon and Otto. And Daemon, I just want to say, this is my personal opinion. I'm not putting any of my opinions on Maddie at all. So don't blame her for anything. Come for me. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. I wouldn't probably love him in real life. I think that I would be enthralled by him. I would want to be around him a lot, but I know that I have my limitations, and I'd be like, okay, I need to go home now. Like, he seems like he's the type of person that he always wants to party. And he always wants to do some illegal shit, but like always has a plan to not get caught. And I feel like I would be into that. I feel like me and Daemon are the same fucking person, is what I'm saying. I resonate a lot with this man.
I can't.
But I'm not like, if he turns out to be a sociopath, don't fucking, like, I'm not a sociopath.
Don't fucking quote me.
Don't quote me. Don't fucking quote me.
Even though this is going on the internet.
You know. So if you're gonna soundbite anything, soundbite that, you bitches. But
fucking hope.
But I love him. I love him as a character.
I mean, like, look,
I really love him as a person. I feel like I understand him so much as a person. I get it.
Also love him as a character. I will agree with you there. Like, he is pivotal, right? Like, he's chaotic. He's got a story arc. Like, something's happening there for sure. And again, like, that low-key, like, playful energy, like, he's violent, right? But this is the fucking medieval times we're in, basically, and this House of Dragons, like,
violence is at 200%.
But I kind of get it. Like, I am not this person, but he's relatable, is what I'm saying. Like, even the theatrics, like the decoration of his proclamations are so relatable. Like, he tries, but like what gets the attention is like, I'm gonna marry my fucking whore in 2 days.
Oh, I love it. That's the thing is like, but really it's like, it's all false, which is the only thing that I didn't like about that. I didn't realize that, like, I was like, oh, of course he's the kind of person that knocks up a random girl and then tries to marry her and says, I'm gonna do it the old Valyrian Targaryen way and have multiple wives, which is like shout out Utah. But but you know, like, I really took that note that he sent to it's not the Citadel, no, it's just to the King's Landing, seriously, and then come to find out he was faking the whole time. That was the one thing that I didn't like about him, but I do get it. Like, I've done that to exes. I'm just like, oh,
it's giving,
I'm gonna do this and that. Like,
no offense to any Geminis out there, I still love you.
No, it's Gemini energy, it's Aries energy, it's Sag energy. Sages wouldn't give a shit. So like, originally I thought that he was a Sagittarius because of just how anyways, I'm not even gonna get into that. We'll talk. We will do an entire episode just based on Zodiac. So if you're a Zodiac queen or king, fucking listen to it. Watch out for it. Subscribe so you hear it, because we will go into fucking details, but you know, I loved that it was just like, oh, I'm inviting you to my wedding, and then they show up, no fucking wedding, no nothing.
Yeah, of
And
course.
no, but like, and even then, I don't really like the way that he like lied about it. I'm not really here for that, but I am here for the way that he greeted Otto on the bridge and was just like, come take it. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, when he holds the egg out and says come take it, and Otto's like, do you think I'm fucking dumb? And it's like, yeah, come try me. Like
Yeah,
the
he's like,
fuck,
yeah, I
I
do
have
think you're
just as
dumb.
much men as you. So that was, it was a cute little quarrel that we saw, you know, the knives out, and then the knives, like Otto putting the knives back in was a nice little ego boost. But then Rhaenyra fucking comes in out of the clouds, and that was gorgeous.
It was.
It was gorgeous. And I'm like, okay, this is what the CGI is paying for. This is what our budget is going to right now.
That is what
It's
the
like
budget's
this
going
because,
to. It's fucking clouds, fucking
yes,
dragon.
yes, it was
Absolutely.
nice. She comes in, she lands, and of course, her dragon is gorgeous, right? And she, like the way that she walks up and is like, yeah, fuck you, Otto, I can handle this. I'm just like, yes, just piss on him, piss on him,
Yeah, yeah, no, I
just,
loved it.
just
It
fucking
was a
litter
strong
all
moment.
over them.
Also, I just want to circle back really quick and mention that the conversation between Rhaenyra and Rhaenys, her cousin
Oh yeah,
on
we didn't even talk about
whatever.
that.
Well, I just want to say in relationship to this moment of her like coming through, proving herself like in front of men to a man who's very problematic, like Rhaenys warned her. I mean, it was a little bit condescending, but not really. Like it was and it wasn't. She was kind of like, you're young and hopeful, and I see that in you. You think you're going to change the law, but you're not. And I'm not telling this to you to tear you down, but I've hardened this way.
Yeah.
I know these men, you know, and I think it's funny because earlier when Alicent and Rhaenyra are together in the like the crypts or whatever, the fucking dungeons on, you know, the place.
Whatever they pray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever they are. Um Rhaenyra says, she's like, oh, I know these men, like I hear them, and we do know that because she's there in the room, like in the council room with them listening, but she does not have the amount of life experience. And like again, like I love the hopefulness. I love like her just kind of like, well, when I become queen, when I do this, I like I'm royal, I have like valor and
Yeah. No, we've talked about this a lot about like just the younger generations are always the one that are pushing the needle forward, right? We pushed it as forward as we could in our generation. The younger generation of women are pushing it even farther than that. And then the generation, like it's just, it's very, I would say, generational. So, and it's always been, history has proven that it's always been that way. Even in our own patriarchal system, it's always been that way. So even if we're moving backwards some steps, which, you know, that sucks, but it's still like a matter of the younger generation, the ones that believe that anything is possible.
well, right. They have that brave
That
courageousness about
that yeah,
them.
that
And I
that
just want to
exactly.
say in
And
my notes, I wrote, I was like, these bitches are brave. And we already knew that. Like Game of Thrones highlighted a lot of women being in like powerful, brave positions. And I think that this has even more, it's more women
well, I think
focused, which
that,
is
yeah,
nice.
and I think that the difference between this and Game of Thrones has been that in the position, like in the female positions, they were like almost put in those in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were like Sansa had to get away from Ramses, right? So like she let or Ramsey. So, you know, she was automatically like put into a position of I have to protect myself. And then Kat, you know, when Ned's left, she had to be like, oh, I'm the one that's protecting this house. And then Arya, it's I'm the one that's protecting myself when I'm out on the street. So it's consistent. I know I only name Stark girls, and I'm sorry for any fucking Targaryen fans. Daenerys did the same. All women that we saw in Game of Thrones had to do that. They had to evolve to not depend on men for anything. I think with this, it's difficult because Rhaenyra has her dad still. So it's like, can she, if her dad had died randomly and she was just automatically queen of the throne, shit would work out a lot differently. Like she would immediately, I feel like she would immediately like assume power and do something different. Or if her mom was still alive, she would still be docile and a lady of the court, you know. So it's you know, it's interesting to think like you, especially like, I mean, I think all people are adaptable. I think all people are adaptable, and you know, we just kind of assume the position that we're in, especially in a position like that where, you know.
Yeah, and like, look, it's not just the women. We see it throughout, you know, because Alicent, she's doing what she needs to do, but her power is coming through much more subtly. One thing, just a quick interjection that I wanted to say about Alicent earlier. You know, you mentioned something about like the fashion in our last podcast, but her dress was beautiful. That blue dress and the necklace that she wore, and yeah, for the king, like to comfort him and stuff. But I just wanted to say, you know who would love that outfit? Who? Maddi from Euphoria. If she was in these times, that bitch would be wearing that fucking cut.
Oh my god, another thing about outfits. Okay, sorry. For the ladies that are listening, one thing that I wrote down is that Damon, in the scene where they're on the bridge and he's about to fight Otto or whatever, and his like the girl that he's hooking up with, she's in this like white, almost furry kind of like V-neck thing. Like she's in a dress, but it reminded me so much of Daenerys when she went to the north.
Yeah.
And when the last time Daenerys left Dragonstone, because that's how she left, was in this kind of like furry, like light blue pleated corset like suit, and that's what this girl was wearing when Otto. So that was like, it immediately brought me back. I was like, oh shit, that looks like Daenerys. You know, I don't know how much, like, she's not gonna be a big thing. But Maddi from Euphoria, 100%. I feel like Maddi from Euphoria, she's such an adventurous closeter that like
she might wear it now.
Wear fucking everything, you know. And honestly, at the end of this, maybe instead of like, we'll do a season finale show, but maybe at the end of it, maybe we'll do like our notable moments and then our notable outfits and our because I'm just like, I have so many already and I can't even wait to see what's in store. I know the first episode was a big one for like royalty and posh and all this stuff, but like, you know, I don't know, I have so many thoughts on just like the costume, makeup, etc.
Yeah, no, we should definitely keep that in mind, put that on our list.
We're going to. Yeah,
I'd be down. And just to talk about like these last moments of the episode, just speaking of Alicent, the dress, we know that the king picks her to marry her. One big thing, you know, we mentioned Rhaenyra is fucking upset. She is visibly upset.
Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't be?
Right.
It's not only her dad who is the only thing that the only living real family, like true family that she has. Alicent is her only true best friend. And that's what I said earlier. Like Alicent and Syrax, I don't know how you pronounce it, but like that's her dragon. Those are the only two things that are actually hers in the entire kingdom, right? Because if you think about like, she's not just a girl living in a city. No, she's cooped up in a red keep, can only talk to so many people, like can only have so many friends. She has this one friend that she is very visibly close with and very emotionally
connected. I would say, but you know, that's just me. I love the LGBT intended vibes. I'm here for it. Like, representation matters. I believe that fully and truly in all fucking forms.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is like maybe she is gay, maybe she's
well, right. And
right?
I just want to say, like, you know, you mentioned it earlier. Martin, R.R. Martin does know how to write like a really good unrequited love story, like something that's always difficult to happen, like because you have duties or whatever, it's not accepted, or there's always something that keeps them from each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a good love story. That's a great trope. And I love the first season of like romantic stuff because like the first season is always like the connection, the unrequitedness of it, and like then you get 5 more seasons, then they never get together until the end.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you think about it, if you think about every season of Game of Thrones, there is one ultimate triumphant like not unrequited, because unrequited means that one person is not receiving of it, but like star-crossed. Right?
Okay, yeah,
so, like you have word. Like Jaime and Cersei, you have Jon and Ygritte, you have even beforehand, like when we're talking about historically, we have Robert Baratheon and God, why can't I remember her name? The sister, the Stark sister, Lena.
Lily?
Sorry, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I don't remember her name.
Who does art in heaven?
Yes. Okay, we're gonna tag the basement yard, and that's clearly.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's Lena Stark. It's John's mom. You know, even then we have Daenerys and Khal Drogo. I'm rewatching it now. That was the most star-crossed of its time, right? Yeah. Because within the first season, he lives in. Listen, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, don't listen any fucking. You shouldn't listen to this anyways. Get the fuck.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Get out of here. We're done with you. No, but Daenerys and Khal Drogo, even then it's like star-crossed, you know, yeah, like.
No, I think that's actually a better word.
I think it's very much the fucking, you know, the theme of all of it. But like, that's the thing is like.
I have a question. Sorry to cut you off.
But
Alicent marries the king. Does that make her the queen?
Yes. Automatically makes her the queen.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So that automatically makes her the queen. And any children that she has are immediately like not immediately, but immediate princes and princesses.
Right. But because she's not Targaryen, that means the babies won't be able to hatch dragon eggs.
Well, that's the thing is like you can be half Targaryen and hatch dragon egg. It's just a lot of Targaryens thought that you had to be full Targaryen to hatch dragon egg.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so okay, so hold on. Go ahead and pull up. You know what?
Damn, Alicent gonna be queen. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
It's kind of fucked up, but like it's cool.
So it started with Jaehaerys and Alysanne Targaryen. They married each other, had children. They had Aemon Targaryen, Baelon Targaryen, and Alyssa Targaryen. Alyssa had Daemon and Viserys. Aemon had Rhaenys.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's incest pooling in this ancestry.
Yeah, so another quick mention. I'm glad that you just brought that up. I'm not glad.
No incest. So that was one of my big things to talk about. Yeah.
So we know this pod is kind of long, but this is important. And I actually saw a great TikTok. I don't know if I can find it, but if I do, I will tag it. I'll put it in the description. But they were talking about how everyone thinks that like R.R. Martin is just like obsessed with incest, and I need to do my own research on it. So if you guys have any thoughts, please fucking hit the line.
Yes, but I have thoughts. I have thoughts myself.
The TikToker pointed out that it was actually probably historically correct for the timing, and I was like, you know, that and we do know this from history, like it's taught to us in school, at least in public schools, that like they had some incesty shit happen back in the day because they thought it kept the bloodlines
The
pure.
bloodline pure, yeah. So I mean, okay, so I will say that I know this of the Targaryens, that when they have a like any Targaryen that has a baby, they, as soon as the baby's born, they lay an egg with it to hatch. And if the egg hatches while the baby's in the cradle, then they're a true Targaryen, right? So we see a lot of incest with the Targaryen line because they're trying to make sure that the egg hatches and they have their own dragon. So like that's why we see Rhaenyra having her dragon and Daemon having his own dragon. Like they have a specific dragon that they're born with, you know, kind of like a fucking puppy, if we're being honest. But
Yeah.
you know, so we see a lot of that, and we see a lot of incest in the Targaryen line. Not just to mention that, but like there has been a lot of incest in royal lines going back to France, going back to England, going back to fucking Italy, all of the things that were royal at one point in our lives that were incestual, because it's like, okay, I have an incestual you know, like family line, you have an incestual, sorry, I burped, uh family line, right? Like we need to keep this pure. And we could, like, if anyone can't imagine that being a thing 600, 700 years ago, then I don't know what history you're living in. Like this was something that was very
Right.
popular.
It was
And
real.
if you think about, like, even if you think about like
Hmm.
breeding dogs, right? Like you're not gonna breed a pit bull with a fucking Labrador and expect to sell like, no, you're a pit bull with a pit bull, and the bloodline is gonna be pit bull, right? So think
Right.
about it that way of like they were only concerned with breeding pure bloodlines. I at this point I'm drunk, so have fun with me.
Hell yeah. No. I think
But
you're
no, but
absolutely right.
that's the fact of the matter, is that that's where it came from. And what I wanted to bring up is that, you know, at this point, so we know that Rhaenyra's father is Viserys, her mother is Aemma, her mother is half Targaryen. So her mother was born Targaryen mother and Aaron father, which is actually fucking crazy when you think about like the Aarons in, you know, in the twins, I think that's where they're from, whatever it is in Game of Thrones. Um, but you know, she is half Targaryen, so Rhaenyra is actually inbred. She's an inbred baby.
Oh, so she's not pure blood line.
She's pure Targaryen because her father is full Targaryen, her mother is half.
Right. That makes
Yes,
her less than 100%
less
Targaryen.
than 100%, but she still has a dragon.
Okay.
Right, so she is more Targaryen than not. She's
Okay.
75% Targaryen, 25% Aaron.
Right.
So a lot of what they thought back then was that we had to fuck our cousins and have babies in order for our babies to have dragons themselves. And which, you know, honestly makes sense.
I mean, yeah,
They
like
had
in a logical
no
way.
they had no scientific proof that inbreeding was a bad thing. They
Right.
you know, we're talking
Right.
about
They
we're
literally
talking about
can't
like
even
300
recognize
BC.
they can't even recognize that the king has a fucking staph infection right now. So,
Exactly.
how are they going to know that like fucking incestual like connections are going to have like
Yeah,
genetic
have any
problems down the line?
ulterior
They have no,
effects.
and that's invisible to the eye, like they don't know
Of
that.
course, yeah, exactly.
So
I think that what my
I'm
most
not trying to
notable,
excuse RR, but I do think it is worth mentioning like why we're seeing it in the series, I guess. Um So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up really quick, like touch on it. I know, like
Well, I mean, I
honestly,
think that
House of
so
Dragon and Game of Thrones have some things that are difficult to speak about, and I think that like we just want to be as sensitive as
well,
possible and
no,
make sure that we're
and that
covering the bases.
yes, and that was one of the things that like okay, so when they Carlos and Janice are trying to get their daughter to marry Viserys, the king, that would be incestual because she is his direct cousin.
Right.
So it would be, you know, and that's when I started thinking about it. And I think that really like at the time that they're at before the Cersei and Jamie era, it was acceptable. Like they were just like, oh, we're trying to keep the bloodline. We're trying to, you know, like
Yeah.
propagate amongst this bloodline. We're trying to build more of a Targaryen. And then I think at a certain point they realized 200 years later that it makes you fucking crazy, if not deformed, but crazy. And that's why, because literally Maddie asked me this earlier today. We were on the phone and she was like, why is it a big like why is it not a big deal now? And I think it's more so because it's the bloodline, we get it. There have been so many records in history that show that like England, France, all of the like actual kingdoms that have ever existed have always inbred. It sounds like such a dirty word, but I'm not trying to make it sound dirty.
I know.
But have always, you know, fucking bed with each other. I don't know how to say it. But at a certain point, they realized that it was fucking kids up because it does.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
so I think that with this, because the difference between right now, because Viserys and Aemma are cousins. So
Right.
that's one thing to point out. They're cousins. And anyone that you see in this show that has white hair outside of black people are
Targaryen.
are Targaryen, right? The
Yes.
only people that are darker complexion are Valerians, right? So
Right.
that makes sense of, you know, we're not really crossing any familial, but the fact that nonetheless, the it makes sense that there is an issue
Yeah, no, I
entering
think you're
into
absolutely
it.
right. Like I didn't realize that before. This right now what we're seeing is probably leading up to all of the events of like rulers in the Targaryen family doing crazy shit all the way up until the Mad King, and then they were like, "Oh, like they keep having, like betting each other and like having these heirs, but we're seeing that like they're either deformed or like, and I'm wondering too, like again, just going back to the first episode, maybe that's why Emma had such a hard time conceiving because the
Yeah,
babies
me too.
are
Exactly.
like they are not getting the proper crossed like pollination, if you will,
Yes,
to
I agree.
actually
I agree.
come to
I
fruition.
agree because it's like
That
the
was
thing is,
weird, but you get me.
yeah, no, the question is like, okay, he wasn't able to have any successful children outside of Rhaenyra with Emma, but he's able to have multiple with this new person.
Right,
So
who
like
is
that
not
exactly because it's
DNA
not cross
related.
pollination of DNA. So like
Right.
clearly at this point they didn't understand DNA or anything, but
Yeah,
that's
so
really
that's
where it
that's a
comes
really
down
good
to.
point, I think, from like then and now kind of comparison, because I was like, oh, like in my I was thinking like, okay, was the Lannister a royal family? No, they were a noble family, but they always tried to emulate royalty. So I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe that's why they were doing it, to like keep the bloodlines pure, whatever, go back to the old
Yeah,
Valyrian
I think
ways.
that,
But no, you're right. It's absolutely because there was probably some crazy events from the Targaryens that they were like, this is not a good thing. People shouldn't do this.
well, and so that was my main point is that like, okay, so they cross-pollinated is what scientists call it, so much, right? Like incested so much that it ended up being, because it wasn't, they had talked about like the Mad King wasn't the first. It
I
was the
know.
one after
Aegon.
Viserys. So
Yeah.
whoever ruled after Viserys was mad, right? And then he ruled for however many years, and then it went back to kind of peace. And then, like they kind of go through the history, and it's like in ebbs and flows of absolute craziness and then peace, and then absolute craziness and then peace.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that that's what it was. It was more of like, and probably it was the Macers that were just like, okay, that's probably why this motherfucker is crazy, because
Well, but also like,
he's been inbred for 10 fucking generations straight. Like, you have done nothing but, like, you fucked like your sister, then like your father fucked his sister, and then your grandfather fucked his sister, and then your great grandfather fucked his sister, and
yeah.
it's like, instead of being, and like the thing is, we now know that as like normally like just like physical deficiency, but I think that it's easy to think that that was once mental deficiency. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
just
Absolutely.
mental.
And I just want to point out too, like they didn't have the same science that we have. They didn't know, but also like it took them time to figure it out, because even like in the first episode when they perform the C-section on Emma, like the guy who's coaching the king through that, he says, oh, like this is information that we've learned from the Citadel. And the Citadel, I believe, isn't that where Samwell Tarly's
Yes,
family like
that's
lived?
where all
They're
Mason.
like librarians.
Yes,
So
that's
that's the
all.
center, the mecca of knowledge in this
Yep.
R.R. Martin universe, right? So like I do think that like the Citadel, they're watching everything. It's kind of like the census, right? Like of every few years they like take a
Yeah.
poll and like see what the fuck is
Although they don't act on shit
going on.
clearly,
No,
because
there's science. It's like the CDC. Like they're just there to,
oh my god, that's such a great comparison. They really are the CDC.
yeah, like they're there to learn and to like spread information as it becomes
As needed,
necessary
as
for
needed.
people.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
like inbreeding or incestual behavior, like that became, they were like, hey, like people, the CDC of Westeros was like, we need to let them know. The Citadel was like, oh, they probably like, we need people, we need workers, like we can't have this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just took them time. It took them years of observation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. And like honestly, when I think about it, it makes sense, because it took them years of observation to, sorry guys, I'm a little drunk at this point. It's been fucking an hour and a half of this podcast.
Yes, we should wrap it soon. I think there's
Listen, no,
only,
no, 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 no. I'm being relatable. It's fine. Uh
I mean, just for the listeners' sake, they probably got shit to
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna head off soon. But what I'm saying is, like, even in Game of Thrones, the Citadel has never been good about informing anybody on time.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, they didn't have
Ever,
fucking
ever,
smartphones,
ever.
dude.
There have been plenty of times where if they had informed people on time, might have been more prepared.
Yeah,
Definitely weren't.
that's true. That is true. But you know, they're still using like pigeons and owls for messages. So like,
No, but like
is
a,
it all on them?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so last part, let's finish this up in like 10 minutes. We just need to talk about Damon's last bit with
Ah!
Corlys, because
Okay.
Corlys, we already could see he was frustrated, pissed off. I kind of had a feeling that he was going to react to the king not helping him with his lands and his ships, and like it being vulnerable to the crab guy who's at the free cities right now. So you know, what does he do? Like any smart person who needs to fucking buck up against the king, you go with the person who's already doing that, who also has authority, which is the brothers, or the brothers king, sorry, the king's brother, Daemon. he goes to Damon and he's like, yo, dude, like we're
Well,
both
I mean, no, but that
self-made, bitch.
I don't think that it's necessarily about like the power struggle. I mean, obviously that's coming to play, but I think it's more about like Damon has also been ostracized. So
Yes.
he's like, we have more in common than you thought, you know?
Yeah, no, he says so
But
for both second sons.
what I will say is that my favorite line of all time with anything Game of Thrones is, and maybe this is a little too simple, and maybe this is why I like it so much, but when Damon they're speaking, so we get Corlys talking for a good minute and a half, and then we finally pan to Damon. And I'm like, of course we're talking to Damon. And I screamed and I loved it.
Yeah.
But then when Damon stands up and he's standing by the fire and he says, I will speak of my brother as I wish, you will not. I died. Okay. I will just say I fucking died. I loved it. I'm like,
oh my God, I fucking hated it.
Oh my God, no, but I'm just like, okay, so this is why me and Maddie are different. I'm just like, yes, I can speak about whoever in my family, however the fuck I want to, because that's my family. And there's no way that you are ever going to come in between that. But you cannot speak about them any way that you wish.
I mean, sure.
It's
water.
Undying loyalty of, but like
But
still
is he loyal? That's my thing. It feels very, I'm gonna play to this as I see fit and to as what benefits me. It's very trickster, it's very Gemini, it's very low-key, it's super manipulative. And I'm just like, you just got ostracized by your brother. You literally just like fucking tried him, and you're gonna continue to try him until he faces you and you like fucking battle it out or whatever the fuck you think is gonna happen. And like, I don't know. I just think it was super manipulative. And I'm like, you're just playing both sides as you see fit, which sure, that's what everyone in power does. But this man is coming to you with concern, whether or not I'm here for it. Yeah, they say blood is thicker than water, but I'm just like, you only
I'm
use that when
it.
it's
I think that his loyalty, I think that, the thing is like, he's a fire starter, as that one German band, fire starter.
Yeah, shout out.
Like, I'm just like, that's the theme song. I'm here for it. Like, first of all, the show needed some motherfucking drama. Okay, so I will say that. And Damon came through in the fucking cut as a character. I'm like, thank you, George R. R. Martin. Thank you, whoever fucking screen wrote, whoever casted this man, because he is excellent. Absolutely excellent. Clearly, Maddi differs.
Yeah, but my point is like, okay, if you're gonna be that, but like, does that mean you're not gonna join forces, or are you still gonna join?
No, I feel like he's gonna fucking assemble his own shit.
All right, so he's a little fucking tricky bastard.
Okay, all right.
As much as I love him,
and I agree with you completely. The thing is that what you hate him for is what I love him for.
Yeah, well, we'll die on different fucking stones on that one.
This is why I did this podcast with her. This is why she did this podcast with me, because this is where it ends up. I love Damon. I love him. I think that, the thing is, like, he's a cunt and he's a twat and he's reckless and crazy and fucking fire starter. But like, at the same time, Prodigy. I love, he has unfucking dying loyalty. And I am so here for it. Like, he really has no interest in hurting his brother or hurting Rhaenyra, his niece.
I really hope that reigns true, I guess.
Yes, I think that it will. I really think that it will. And I like hope it doesn't. I hope that he doesn't, because that's the thing is, like, Game of Thrones complicates shit. Like, it's like, oh, you make one decision and it affects the masses and you have no idea what it's going to do, right? Like, you make one decision, and then it's a ripple effect to everyone else. So like we really don't know. That's what's great about George R. R. Martin is that he like every decision the character makes is a ripple, no matter what it is. So I'm assuming that Damon will do some shit that's gonna affect everybody else.
I still think he's going to conspire with Corliss, which I think is why it rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like,
no, but I want that. Are you kidding me? Like Corliss was sitting there. This was one of my favorite. This is my only favorite part. The only part that I liked about this episode is Corliss. He had his little monologue in his little fucking chair and was just like, oh yeah, we're the second sons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then pan to fucking Damon, of course. And I screamed and I'm like, yes, this is the brotherhood. This is the partnership that we fucking needed. Like, Rhaenyra, I'm sorry you're going to be a catalyst of this, but like, honestly, honey, join it or don't. Like, this is the way. This is the fucking revolution.
This
is what we want. This is what the people want.
I mean, yes, like, look, I want the drama. I'm here for it.
I don't even want the drama. I just want the fucking revolution. Like, King Viserys is a cunt. He's a twat. And Alicent is not, no fucking better. And when it comes to politics and ruling,
okay, he might not have as much conviction as Damon, sure, but that doesn't make him a cunt or a twat. Get the fuck out of here. King Viserys is only marrying Alicent out of duty, and that's the only better option that he has.
Oh my god, no, he would have married the 12-year-old out of duty.
Well, I'm saying he picked a better option though.
No, he didn't, because the High Towers aren't worth shit. So that out of duty means nothing.
What, Sam? Go fuck yourself, okay? Get the fuck out of here, you fucking scumbag.
All I'm saying is, like, Damon, come with the fucking heat.
Listen,
like, Rhaenyra also came with the fucking heat. She came with the heat with that dragon.
Yeah,
and put him in his place, and I love that. And I'm just like,
that's that. I think in a way, literally,
I think that's one thing.
The dragon heat.
That's one thing that I love about Damon is that, like, he can be put in his place. He's not crazy. He's overzealous and he's fucking reactionary and he's all these things, but dramatic, like,
yeah, sure.
She came through with her own dragon and said, are you gonna kill me or nah? And he said, nah, and walked away.
Okay, I get what you're saying though. You're absolutely right about loyalty. Like, I truly don't believe that he wants to hurt Rhaenyra or Viserys.
And even in the last conversation, like, that was the one thing that rung true to me, was like when he was talking to Corliss was saying all this shit, like, I'm not gonna sit here and fucking act like my men are dying while your king is doing these tourneys and blah blah blah, whatever, and like all this fancy shit. And then literally Damon turns around and is like, I can talk about my brother how I wish, and you will not. And I'm like, that's the sexiest thing I've ever heard anybody say in my life.
All right, literally. So you're all in because
I'm all in Damon. I fucking love him. 100% Damon. I'm here for him. Thank you. What is his name? Matt Smith.
I haven't looked up any of the actors yet, except on Instagram, because I'm like, where the fuck you at? Need to see what's going on. But yeah,
I'm all in, 100% in.
I am definitely excited. I think, like, them ending it on that note is always interesting. It's a good cliffhanger. I'm excited to see the next one.
They ended on the note of Viserys nominating fucking Alicent as his wife. Like,
well, but then Corliss and fucking Damon have that little interaction. So, like, we already know, like, this is episode 2. They're setting us up for the unfolding of the season and how these things happen, which I am really, really excited about. Mm-hmm. And we hope that you are too. Sorry for keeping you all so fucking long, but also,
oh my god, no, fuck you. We're glad to keep this long.
That's definitely true. But if you have shit to do, we're glad that you blew it off to listen to us.
Yes.
Please check us out
on your way to work.
Monday evening, Tuesday morning for sure. You get me.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll
We're
see
trying
you
our
later,
best.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah.
can find us at HB_hoes on Twitter, HB.hoes on TikTok and Instagram, and hoeshbo@gmail.com. Message us. No, but honestly, this is not our only thing. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We
Yeah,
have
we'd love to hear your opinions. Send us
yeah, no, on
reviews.
this
We'll
and
read
on
them out
any
loud
other
if it's
shows.
5 stars.
Yeah, do you want us to talk about any other shows? Fucking send it. Send it, baby.
Yeah, just no isms. You know what I mean? Like, you can be mean to us, just don't be mean to the masses. We love you. Thanks for hanging. See you next week.
Love you.